Hey guys, it's Heather here from the Naturally Present Life. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode number 4. So can't believe we've already done 4 episodes. Having a great time doing this, and I really love connecting with the people that I'm bringing on and interviewing. I hope that you guys are getting some valuable content and insight and information and ideas for how you can keep progressing in your own personal growth and development during this time. I have a really special guest that I'll be inviting later in today. But I just wanted to take a moment to offer 2 things. Number one, if you are watching this and you do get some valuable information or content out of it, I'd love to get your feedback. It can be through email or a comment below, just to let me know what I'm doing is helpful, that it's working for you. If there's something that I'm not addressing that you'd love for me to cover or to find a subject expert in so that I can bring on for an interview, please let me know as well. Happy to build out the connections and build out the content so that we're making sure there's something for everyone. And then the second invitation is, if you are engaged in personal development of any sort, something unique, or even if it's something we've already covered, but you have a slightly different take, then let me know. If you want to be interviewed and join us on this show, then please reach out to me and we can explore how that might look. So there are my 2 invitations for you. And just before I invite today's special guest, I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about intuition, because it's something I get asked about a lot. And it's certainly something that is an up and down experience in my own life. And it's a bit of a hot topic, especially right now in the entrepreneurial world, and certainly in this world of navigating the changing lifestyles that we have based on the COVID-19 going on and the shutdowns and the global recession and all that other stuff. And I think it's a really valuable time to learn how to get in touch with that part of you that thinks beyond what the limited capacity of your experiential mind or experiential brain is capable of thinking. And for me, that translates to an intuition. And so that's those moments where you maybe get an inkling or a notion to do something you've never done before, or it's something outside of your comfort zone, or you suddenly notice a little bit of information going on in a conversation off to the side, but somehow your awareness picks up on it and it feeds something within you and it's asking you to pay attention. And for me, those are those moments of intuition speaking to me. It also takes a lot of trust. With intuition, there's a lot of trust required, there's a lot of faith, and there's a lot of surrender. And oftentimes, particularly in our kind of 3D world, we like to put evidence before the trust and evidence before the faith. And my experience is that it actually works the other way around, and that it's by having the faith and having the trust and just taking that one step forward where the evidence then reveals itself behind the trust and the faith. It doesn't work the other way around, which is the way that our conscious mind likes things to work. We like to see the evidence, know that it's going to be okay, trust it's there, it's going to be okay for us, and then take a step forward. But in fact, intuition and stepping into a higher place within ourselves requires the exact reversal of those things. And so it's like a dance, and you have to learn to pick up those little bits and pieces of information that come to you, to sense it within yourself. And this is where meditation comes in super powerful, because sometimes those notions might be coming from the surface of your mind or from a more ego-driven place. And so it's important to be able to discern and to learn to understand the different bits of information in the voices or the sounds or the feelings that you get, and to discern where they're coming from and try to figure out if they are truly your intuition. And that's where meditation and mindfulness is really powerful, because it's in those moments when you can drop into the stillness and let go of trying to figure it out and just ask the question, is this my intuition guiding me? Is this coming from a place that is elevated, or a slightly higher vibration, or a raised consciousness from where my limited thinking is coming from? And those things take trust. And so the meditation and the mindfulness are the tools that you can use to try to understand if you are in that flow of inspiration and intuition, or if you are coming from a place that's maybe more fear-based or information-based or evidence-based, as opposed to the trust and the faith-based. So I hope that makes sense. The other piece I wanted to say about that is, I think that right now is an extremely important time to really look at and build your connection to whatever the higher power is for you, whether that's God, the universe, source, an angel, whatever it is for you. We all have different connections or ideas or words that we use to share that experience. But I really feel that it's about putting our faith in that thing which is propelling us forward is really, really crucial at this time. And in order to do that, you really do need to learn to quiet the mind, to step beyond all the noise and all the conscious thinking that's going on in your mind, so that you can start to come from a place that is knowing and trusting that the voice or the information or the feelings you're receiving are truly something that's calling you forward and calling you forward into a better place. And so that's a little bit about how I experience and work with intuition and meditation and aligning those two. Quite often, if I'm uncertain about something, but it's feeling strong, then I will get into a meditation and drop that question and say, please show me. And then I still the mind and I listen and I watch and I wait. Now, I may not get the answer during that meditation. Sometimes I do, but sometimes I do not. And oftentimes it isn't until much later in the day or even a couple days later when suddenly something happens in my field, in my awareness. I hear a conversation, I come across something online, or something happens, a friend calls me out of the blue and says something that's connecting the dots. And so I look for that evidence, but it's only after I put my trust and my faith in that. And then I ask the question and I surrender to the answer coming to me, however it wants to come, because I can't control that. I can't make it appear when I want it. Everything has its divine time. And so I just invite you, if you haven't engaged your meditation practice yet and you're thinking about it, now's the time. Please jump on. If you have some questions, let me know. I'm happy to help. It can seem very daunting and complicated, especially at the beginning. And I'm here to do whatever I can to help simplify it for everybody, anybody who's interested. And if you have a practice, fantastic. See what you can do to deepen it, because now is really the time to step into that trust and that intuition and being able to be guided from a place that is outside of what we've been able to come up with so far in the limited thinking of our mind. So that's it for me for right now. I see our guest has jumped into the waiting room. I'm very excited to welcome Julie Ritchie to this show. I'm just going to let her in from the waiting room. Hi, Julie.
Hi, Heather.
How are you?
Oh, let me put my camera on. I'm
there
great.
We go. Awesome. Thank you so much for coming in and joining us on your evening and our morning.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, great. So I'm just going to do a little formal introduction just to let the people here know who you are, and then we'll get into some robust discussion if that works for you.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. So today I'm welcoming in Julie Ritchie, who is the founder of Do Business Like a Woman. She's a leading expert on how to do business the feminine way. And I think this is a really timely topic for conversation. So Julie works mainly with female entrepreneurs, with coaches, with VAs or virtual assistants and freelancers, and she supports them to get clients and to build a business that they love without burning out. Super awesome. Raise your hand if you don't need that. No, I'm sorry, my hand needs to go down because I really do need that. So it's Julie's mission to support the people she works with to get clients and to be successful at business, so that they can be out there and share their message, share what's inside of them that they need to bring out into the world and to make a difference and make the world a better place.
Oh, what an introduction. Thank you.
That's you. It's amazing. Thank you. And I will just say, Julie does live in the UK, but you work with clients internationally, remotely, right?
I do, yes. Yes, have clients in the US and various different places, in fact. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Great. So in your bio, you mentioned that we need to bring the divine feminine energy into the way that we do business to balance the masculine, which in turn will make a positive difference in our world. So I thought that would be a really good starting point for our conversation to talk a little bit about what that means to bring the divine energy forward and to find balance and what that balance means for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So this comes from a piece of my story, which was that I used to just be completely in my masculine energy and didn't even really know what feminine energy was. That really played out actually in my relationships to begin with and caused all kinds of havoc there. And I then really learned about feminine energy and what it means to be in our feminine energy and how that changes our romantic relationships. And that was life transforming for me. So when I got into business coaching, I just thought, well, what would it be like to bring the feminine into business? And my experience of kind of the working world and the jobs I had and things were that they were so masculine energy, so full on. It was all do, very high stress, no real space for kind of being, or, you know, having a personality, or having, you know, if anyone had a personal problem, it was kind of like, well, you have a day to have that, you know, your grandma's died. This was a real thing. Somebody's grandma died, and I think they gave her like 2 days to kind of get over it. And I just thought, wow, you know, how can we put a time limit on those things? And it just didn't feel right to me. So I really felt that there was a better way we could do life and business. And even when I opened my own business, there was so much of the hustle message out there, and, you know, Gary Vee and work all the hours until you drop and all these things. And it just wasn't something that I enjoyed. It was not good for my health. It was not sustainable for me. And I don't think I'm the only one. You know, I didn't think I was the only one. And so I started exploring, well, what would it mean to bring feminine energy into business, and what would be different? And so for me, it was all about, how do we do this and still honor our feminine? So, you know, our being, our health and well-being as we create businesses, our intuition. Intuition is such an important feminine trait, and for me has been significant in my business. And so just bringing those qualities in to the sort of everyday business practices, and it's just made a big difference to me and my clients. So.
That is amazing. And I will just say that prior to bringing you into the room, my whole discussion was on intuition, so, which is beautiful.
There you go.
Nice tie-in. Yeah. And I will say also that I had the absolute pleasure to be coached by you. You're a fantastic coach. So if anyone here is listening and looking for a coach, I do personally recommend Julie.
Thank you.
One of the things I did appreciate about you was, I mean, you had your, the masculine, if I will, the tips and the advice and all that stuff, but the intuition that you brought in, and the allowance you brought in to say things that maybe you didn't know about me or you didn't think ahead of time, it brought in for me a real balance between the masculine and the feminine in the coaching that you provided to me. So I really appreciated that.
Oh, that's really good to hear. Yeah, I think it is just, thank you, Heather. And I think it is just that having that space, isn't it, to allow what wants to come through. And it is important to say that it's not all about, oh, let's be completely feminine and not masculine. It's really a balance. So, you know, you have the masculine containers, you have the step-by-step, the logical structure, the strategy, and that's all really, really important. But then as well, there's the space for the intuition and what wants to come through, and just being present with the person in front of you and with your client. And I found that the two together is when really big transformation can happen.
Yeah, I love that. I know one of the things that I've struggled with a lot is that I do recognize that this is definitely a time of the rise of the feminine, and that it applies to both men, and it's not a man, woman, male, female. And I really appreciate that about what you bring to the table, because they're often, I have come across females who go a little bit towards the feminine, and the masculine's bad. And in my opinion, we are in a 3D world of duality. And so it's about finding that balance. And yes, the masculine has been way up here and the feminine down, but it's a balancing, right?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, because what we don't want to do is pendulum swing the other way. And, you know, it's not about one being superior to the other. And of course, there's had to be this kind of pushback from the feminine, because the masculine, you know, we were in this patriarchal society for so long, and the feminine was suppressed and ridiculed. So it's needed to come through in quite a powerful way. But, you know, there's a space for both, and that's the point. It's like yin and yang, you know, we need both. And as you say, it's not a man and woman thing. We all have both types of energy.
Yeah. So that just brought two things to mind. And one is that one of the reasons, like when I first got into coaching, followed everyone. Classic mistake, follow everyone. But one of the things that stood out about you is how you brought the menstrual cycle into the conversation around business, because I know personally that I have had I'm very aware of my cycles, have been for a long time, and I know that I have ebbs and flows, but to bring that into the public sphere for how we operate is fantastic. And then the second piece of that is, earlier this week, I was on an Instagram live with someone, a male counselor who had invited me. And we talked about that on the show. And it was very celebratory for me. And we also raised the fact that there are some men who are aware that they have their own monthly cycle. It's different, of course, but just to see that conversation opening up. And I feel like you've been a true pioneer in that realm.
Oh, thank you. Well, I had a choice. I could either kind of hide that part of my life, or I could speak about it. And it's been such a big part of my journey. Just to share with people, I am healing a condition called endometriosis. And, if you go to the traditional doctors, they will tell you it can't be healed, but I don't really believe that kind of thing. So I went on my own healing journey and found a functional medicine lady to work with. And it's not completely gone, but it's way more manageable. The pain is so much less. But it was a big part of my journey, because my energy would ebb and flow, and there would be a couple of days per month where I would be taken out the game and I would have to go to bed. And so I literally had to build my business around that. And I used to get so worried that clients would be angry with me. And I think that came from when I was working in, jobs, and it's harder, people don't understand. But what I found is that as I stepped into my own power with it and I became okay with it wasn't a problem for anyone else. And so I talk about it very openly, and I speak about my energy levels, and I speak about creating a business, even with a chronic health condition. And, as women, whether you have a chronic health condition or not, I believe that managing our energy, and not just as women, as people, we need to be healthy. There's no point in creating businesses and being wealthy if our health is shot to bits. So it's a really important piece of it all for me.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like right now we're in this space of recognizing the holisticness of everything. Like, it's all these disparate pieces just coming together, and that's a big part of it. You can have the money or your health. It's not that way. That's how it maybe we used to think, but now we see the holistic picture of it all. And you bring that into your coaching as well, which is fantastic.
Yeah, well, we're human beings, aren't we? Not robots. So I feel like it's important to honor all the pieces, and that includes energy. And what I've seen as I've worked with clients is that if the energy isn't there, if the healthy habits are not there, they really struggle with business, because it's like a foundational piece. And I can give them all the strategy, but if they are kind of wiped out because their energy's on the floor, or they have really bad habits, they're going to struggle to create a business. So it all works together.
That's beautiful. I love it. Yeah. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how you, what your daily rituals are for you staying in balance. Julie Ritchie, what do you do?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to share. So when I wake up first thing in the morning, it starts with hot water and lemon. That's a good habit. And then recently I've started meditating again. I've been really quite bad with that, but I've started again. And so I've been doing that next. And then I always listen to something spiritual. At the moment, it's usually Eckhart Tolle. I find that he just really brings space, listening to him brings space to me and helps me remember to stay present. It's in my day-to-day activities. He really teaches about kind of bringing presence to whatever we're doing and being in the moment. So I tend to listen to him. If it's not him, it's Neil Donald Walsh and Conversations with God. I love those too. So always listening to something like that every day, just to kind of top me up and balance me. I do yoga. I used to do it in the evenings, but I found that I kept not doing it because I'd have such a busy day, and then I would be too tired and I wouldn't do it. So I've moved that to the mornings, and that's been working really, really well. So obviously at the moment that just looks like following a YouTube video, and Yoga with Adrienne is my favorite one. So she's brilliant. So I do that, and then just really, obviously trying to eat lots of organic veggies. I have an organic veg box. I have certain supplements I take, not too crazy on the supplements, but magnesium and a couple of others. And that's probably me. Oh, and then obviously walking the dog every day, out in the beautiful green nature. It's spring here and everything's just green and blooming. So it's lovely out there at the moment.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like a very good routine.
Yeah, it is. It is. You know, when I do it, which is most of the time. So
yeah. So I'd also love to hear what your experience is with, you're very good at helping your clients to get clients, like that's kind of an area that you're strong in. And so what's your experience been with your business in terms of the economic recession and COVID and all that's going on in the external world right now?
Yeah, such a strange time we're in, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so my experience has been that actually, personally, my business has been fine and in fact doing kind of better than ever in a way. Yeah, I actually had my biggest month right after the COVID hit. Not quite sure, you know, the correlation. I feel like we're all still just finding our feet with it and really seeing where the pieces fall. But what I will say is that, you know, online is obviously getting busier. There are more and more people coming online. There are more and more people starting businesses. And so, and you may have noticed everyone and their dog are doing Facebook Lives now and being online. So it's really busy, and this is kind of a mixed blessing. I feel like it's getting harder for people with online businesses to stand out above the noise. And so a lot of people were struggling already, and it's probably going to get even harder. So that's kind of the bad news. But the good news is, within this, there's an opportunity. As within any kind of dark time, there's always opportunity. And so if people can learn how to get really clear on their messaging and how to really bring value and connect with the people that they are supposed to serve, and I always talk about going really narrow with your niche, they can figure those pieces out, there is a really good opportunity right now, and they can step up and be a leader. And with more people coming online, more people looking for online services, you know, if people do this now and get things set up, they're going to come out of this really strong.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I love it. And I think what you said is so key, like getting clear on your message, but also internally connecting to it constantly, right? Like that, maintaining and working on that connection so that it is a part of who you are as you do connect with other people, right? And
Absolutely,
as you say, the online space is so busy and so noisy right now.
It is. And you know, I'm so glad you've said that, because I teach something called the Thrive formula, and step one is actually land in your own power. And so when I work with anybody, I really support them to land in their own power. And that's because I mean, you know my story, but I had sort of first go at a business about 7 years ago, and really struggled. And the difference was that I was kind of copying my coach at the time and not really, you know, being myself. My business wasn't coming from inside of me. And so, you know, this time around, where it's been different, and I had a full schedule of clients from the time I launched 4 years ago. And it really, that was the piece. It was like really getting in touch with myself, landing in my own power, and then speaking from there and creating from there. And yes, there were some strategical pieces that had to happen too, but that was like the underlying foundation.
Yeah. Can you speak a little bit about, I mean, we kind of got to how you landed in your message, but when you say landing in your power, what advice would you give to someone who's sitting in front of you asking about that?
Yeah, so it's not such an easy one to describe, because it is a little bit intangible, and everybody's on their unique journey. So it's kind of hard to say, you know, you can't really say, oh, do step one and then step two and step three, because this really is the feminine piece. It's the kind of more mystical piece. But that said, there are ways we can support each other as women and as people, and as entrepreneurs to do that. So, you know, it's about just supporting each other to really be who we are. And, you know, when I work with somebody, I'll be asking them to do their spiritual practices. I'll be asking them, what are you meant to bring to the world? And I'm not going to tell them, I need them to tell me, and then I can help them with the strategy and things. But it's kind of interesting, and it's just really holding the space for somebody to land in that place.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, awesome. Oh, I just get shivers hearing about it. I love this stuff. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for my questions. I'm curious if you can talk a little bit about the types of clients that you're supporting right now, just in that anyone who's listening and or watching this, to see if it's a good fit for them.
Yeah, sure. And actually, do you mind if I say something else about COVID-19 before we move on? The other thing that I kind of miss saying is that obviously, there's a lot of kind of suffering and a lot of pain and negativity. And that's hard. And also, I think there are some silver linings. There are some good things that are coming out of this. So I don't know about where you are, but certainly here in the UK, the roads are so much quieter. There's not the constant aeroplanes in the sky. So I was talking about this with my mom. It's interesting, but when they were there, I kind of didn't know that I was aware of them, but now that they're not there, it just feels quieter and it feels more relaxed. So there's a kind of different energy here, and just the fact that it is quieter and the planet is getting a chance to breathe, and so I think environmentally we have an opportunity to do things differently coming out of this.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, because it's so needed. And then also with the way that we work, because before there's no way that bosses and companies would have considered letting people work from home in the way they are at the moment, but the situation's been forced. So it's showing, well, look, this is possible. So I'm hoping that as we come out of this, many more people will work from home, which will prevent so much busyness and frenetic energy and pollution. And so I'm hoping that there will be some good things that come out of this too.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely agree. And it's funny, I was on the phone. I usually walk outside my house when I'm on the phone. I was talking to a friend the other day, and I suddenly became aware of this noise, and it was an airplane flying overhead. And the same thing, kind of on a flight path. And normally they're always there, 10, 15 a day. And I hadn't heard it in so long that it pulled my awareness. It was an amazing experience.
Wow, yeah, I know. It's like when they're there, it's just kind of part of the noise and the hubbub, but when they're not, and then suddenly they are, it's like, what is that? What is that noise?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, I agree. There's so many silver linings, and I feel like we all have a choice, despite the hardships that are going on. You always have a choice as to where you put your focus, what you put your attention on. And we know that what you put your focus and attention on is what is going to feed it and help it to grow, right? It's going to feed the actions that you take, the emotions that you feel, all that stuff.
Definitely. Wise words.
Thanks. So if you can speak just a little bit about the types of clients you work with, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. So I support women entrepreneurs, and usually that is coaches, VAs or virtual assistants, and freelancers. And that's because, my story was I launched as a coach the first time round. He had a bit of a horrible time of it, some personal circumstances, it didn't work, and I ended up kind of back in my parents' spare bedroom with £24,000 worth of debt, no car, nothing, but I had my laptop, and then kind of rebuilt from there. Had to go back to a job for a bit, the entrepreneur's worst nightmare, right? But so I lived that, but then relaunching again 4 years ago, and initially I relaunched as a virtual assistant, a VA, because I had actually acquired a lot of online marketing skills by then, and it just, to me, the barrier felt lower than going straight back into the coaching. My confidence had been, knocked a bit. So for me, it was just a really nice way to get back into being self-employed, to launch my business. And as I say, I got a full schedule of clients within the first 2 months, and was actually earning double from my business than I was from my job. So that was enough for me to leap back in. But that was my progression. So virtual assistant, and then very quickly an online business manager, and I was helping clients with marketing and copywriting and really bringing all those skills. And then I realized a couple of years in, I can go back into the coaching because I've done it now. Like, I've done it for myself. I've created this full schedule of clients. I know how to do it. I can help other people do the same. And so that's when I got back into the mentoring. But yeah, it's really female entrepreneurs, coaches, VAs, freelancers. Typically, they're at the beginning of their journey. They usually know what they want to do, right? They know a bit about who they want to help. Usually they're not niched enough. They think they are, but they're not.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I just help them. That they're normally either haven't got any clients yet, that happens sometimes, or they have a few clients, but the clients are not coming fast enough, and they're not kind of earning the income that they need to be earning. Maybe they're feeling pressured to go back and get a job. That's like a curse word to me, but anyway.
It's a 3-letter word.
I know. Or, you know, maybe they still are in a job part-time, which there's no shame in it. Like, it's I did, you know, at the beginning when I had that sort of bridging job, but that's not what they want to be doing. They want to be on their mission, and they just need to know how to get clients. They're usually really good at what they do, but they don't necessarily know the marketing piece, and so that's where I come in.
Fantastic. And actually, you just reminded me, I'd like you to speak a little bit about niche, because I know that's something that you helped me with, and it's a hot topic that I always hear. And the common response is, well, if I niche down, I'm cutting people out. And so if you can speak a little bit about why you feel that niching down is, like, really niching down is important.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so interesting because I hear that all the time from women. Oh, you know, well, this can help everyone, and I don't want to miss anyone. And I get it. I remember feeling that way myself. And here's the thing: it's like a paradox in marketing, is that if you speak to everyone, no one will hear you. No one. If you speak to one person, super narrow on who you're speaking to, you'll get lots of people. It's a really interesting paradox. But if people can just trust me on that, if they can hear me and trust me, they will save themselves so much time and so much stress. And it's also about going really narrow. So here's what I mean by that. Suppose that somebody said to me, okay, I'm a relationship coach and I help women to stop having toxic relationships. Well, that's kind of good, but it's still really, really broad. And here's why. That could be Tracy down the road, who's a single mum, or it could be like Emma, who's an entrepreneur and has an investment mindset. So it's like, well, who's your person?
Yeah.
And those two people are going to be completely different in the way they think, in their habits, the kind of brands that they use. And so you have to get so clear on exactly who it is you're talking to, and, you know, down to what she drinks or he, what they eat, what brands they like, what keeps them awake at night, their biggest desires. And so I have a market research process that I encourage people to go through. But when you get that niched down, it's really powerful, because then you can say something like, hey, you know, grab your green juice or your coffee and your journal and sit down, and we're going to talk about, you know, this thing. Or I talk about things like Marianne Williamson, who's an American politician, and certain books and things. And my people hear me because that's them as well. And when you do that, that really helps you stand out above the noise, because people know you're talking to them. Whereas if I just stuck with, you know, I'm helping kind of women in toxic relationships, it's too broad. It just doesn't connect in the same way.
Yeah. And I wonder also if there might be, with that particular example, where I don't want to admit I'm in a toxic relationship, right? Like right? I don't want to jump into that message. She's not talking to me, right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, usually though, you know, when somebody is at the stage where they're ready to work with you, they do know they have the problem. It's like they have to be not in denial, otherwise you can't help them. I mean, there's an education piece that happens. It's like I'm always talking to my clients about the need to invest and, you know, things like that, because there is an education piece that needs to happen. But if somebody's not ready, you can't force them, you can't drag them.
Yeah, you can't do it for them. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. Awesome. Okay, so to wrap up, we're going to move into the closing questions, which I gave you ahead of time. So if you could just tell us, what is your number one tool? So of all those beautiful things you shared with us, the number one technique that you practice every day to keep yourself in balance. This is the thing you would not let go of.
Yeah, it has to be the Eckhart Tolle for me. Yeah, big fan. It just helps me stay balanced. And even if I'm feeling like this, if I go and listen to him, it just relaxes me down. And, maybe it'll be a different thing in a while, but I've been listening to him for a good few months and it just really helps keep me on the level. So.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And his voice, he's just so sweet.
He is so sweet. Yes.
Okay, great. And what is the one habit that you struggle with the most and you just really find it hard to be consistent with?
It has to be the meditation.
Yeah,
I've been so in and out with it, but I used to do it and then I didn't. And as I say, I do aim to bring presence into kind of everything I do, but I got a really strong message. I was going to say strong message, but it was actually strong messages from the universe that I need to meditate again. So I've listened to that and I've started doing it. At the moment, just 7 minutes a day, but it's a start, right? Yeah. And so I am committed to doing that, and I'm doing that every morning.
That's amazing. And you know what? Like, that's such a common story. The number, because that's a lot of what I teach, the number of people I speak to who have tried it, it didn't work, they gave up, or I'm going to start late. Like, it's just such a common story. So I'm really grateful to hear that.
Oh, well, I really think your work is so needed because I can tell it's making a difference to me already, but it really is the one I struggle with. So I think any help that can be given there is needed.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so Julie, let's pretend that you're sitting with yourself 5 years ago. What is the one piece of advice you would give to yourself?
Oh, this is such a good question. I loved this one. Yeah, so I think it would be, don't worry. Don't worry, everything's going to be okay. And be brave, do the brave things. Don't be scared. Do the big scary things because it's gonna be fine. Awesome. And life is going to get better as well, is another thing I would say.
Beautiful. That's awesome. I love it. Great. And what are you reading right now? I'm going to guess it's Eckhart Tolle, but let's see.
So, yeah, easy to read. I do have his book A New Earth by my bedside, so I love dipping into that one. I'm also, I tend to read more than one book at a time, so I'm also reading Launch from Jeff Walker, dipping back into that one. And then I have Audible, and that has been Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Yes, beautiful, amazing book. Yeah. Cool. Okay. And then the last one is, can you just let everyone know how they can connect with you, your websites, your Facebook, all that stuff. And I will post the links as well.
Oh, okay, brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, the best way to connect with me is just to go to my website, which is dobusinesslikeawoman.com, and they can get some free training there on how to get a full schedule of high-paying clients. So go ahead and grab that. But yeah, that's the best place to find me. We have a Facebook group as well of the same name, so that community is building every day, and there's lots of value in there. I do kind of Facebook Lives, and the women in there are amazing. You're in there.
It's a great one.
So those are the best places to find me.
Yeah, perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up?
No, I just want to thank you so much for having me and inviting me, and also just honor you for the work you do, because, I see some of the things you post, and I just feel the kind of the presence and it just calms me down looking at your posts sometimes. So your work is also super, super important here. So thank you for everything you do.
Thank you so much, Julie. Yeah. Awesome to connect with you. And thanks for coming on the show.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm going to let you sign off because I'm going to stay on. So.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, Julie. Take care. All right, folks, there you have it. Julie Ritchie, Do Business Like a Woman, coming all the way from the United Kingdom. But as I say, she does work internationally. I've worked with her through some Zoom calls, and she is a fantastic coach. So if anything there resonated with you, I do recommend go ahead and check out her website, but also if you're interested, jump into her Facebook group. There's lots of amazing women in there, lots of valuable information and tips and tools. Julie gives and serves so much. So I would like to invite you to take a look. And as I said, I will share the links on here so you don't have to memorize all that. So thank you again for tuning in. This was episode 4, and I look forward to connecting with you again soon. If you have any comments or suggestions for the show, please drop them in the comments, or you can reach me at heather@naturallypresent.com. Have a great day, everyone.